Toastmasters guest. Trish reminded me of a birthday a few years ago. Trish, I really enjoyed your speech, by the way. A few years ago, when I was getting up in the morning and I was getting dressed, and I stood in front of the mirror and I looked in the mirror and I stood there and stared, and Jeff walked in on me. And he said, "Well, how does it feel to have another birthday?" And I said, "I'd rather be 6. And he thought he'd cheer me up. He quick went to the store and he got me some Lucky Charms for breakfast. And we hung around for a little while, and then he got this idea. He went to the store, and pretty soon he came home with a baby doll for me for a present. Well, that wasn't enough. The next thing I knew, he was rushing me out the door to take me to McDonald's for lunch, and he got me a Happy Meal, you know, one with one of those little toys in it. Well, from there we went to Michigan's Adventure, and we rode in every single ride that we've been in. And I was just dragging. But he got me some cotton candy because he wanted me to feel good about, not being so old. And pretty soon I was just dragging, and I kind of wanted to go home, but he just kept dragging me along, and finally he said, "Okay, we can go now." And we stopped at my daughter's on the way home, and lo and behold, a birthday party. And of course she had all the noisemakers and hats. I don't know how they got all this together, but they did. Anyway, so I dragged from the birthday party, and when we finally got home, he said, "Well, how did it feel to be 6 for a day?" And I said, "I meant size 6. Well, then I got to thinking, it might be nice to start thinking about when I was 6. I started thinking, when I was 6, I really had no worries. We lived on an 80-acre farm, and I had the run of the farm. There was a fence all the way around it. Me and my dog, Chef, could go anywhere on that farm as long as we stayed within the 80 acres. One of the things that I really remember is that there was a creek running through the farm, and my dad had built a little bridge across the creek so we could get the cows and the tractor, and he didn't have tractor, he had a horse and the cart in those days. Across the bridge, but there wasn't a railing on it either. I used to like to lay down on my belly and look down at this little tail of creek, because there were these little fish that were going through. Some of them were just minnows, but some of them were a little bit bigger. They weren't huge. But I'd watch, because I always wanted to see if I could find one of those silver ones with a pink belly, because they were so pretty. And I know now they were stiletto or something like that, but anyway, or rainbow trout, that's what they were, rainbow trout. They were so pretty, and me and my dog, we'd just hang around. And even when I was a kid, even work was play. I used to go out and get the cows for my dad, Jeff and I, and I'd go out. Sometimes they were way at the back of the farm, and we'd wander out there, and the cows would take one look at us, and they just head for home. And if they didn't, the dog would come around and look and bring them home. All that was along for the ride and the fun of it. But being a kid on a farm, life was pretty good when I was 6 years old. Actually, even at that, I was a spoiled brat when I was 6. I was the only child until I was almost 5 years old. And when my mother brought my sister home, my aunts and my grandma were there, and they were all fussing over her. Guess what? I wanted the attention. And so I was trying to get their attention, and my mother said, "They came to see the new baby." And I said, "What did you have to bring her home for?" I wasn't too happy at that time. Little did I know that my sister would turn out to be one of my best friends and one of my best supports through my lifetime. But at that time, I didn't appreciate it. That's how spoiled I was. I keep thinking about when I was 6, and maybe I should act that way a little bit more, because I've always been pretty serious for the rest of my life, and it's time for me to lighten up a little. So I think that The humorous speaking manual is one of my goals to help me put a little more humor in my speeches because they've been so serious all my life. And maybe play a little more, not work so hard, not be so serious about everything. And just take a little time to enjoy life instead of being serious about everything and worrying and getting all uptight about it. In reality, I'll never be size 6 again, but who cares? It's going to be a whole great time coming up just because I'm not going to worry so much about it. Mr. Toastmaster.